Hello, and welcome to Unbounded Conversations. I'm joined here by Zach Resnick and Dave Mullen-Muhr of Unbounded Capital. I'm also of Unbounded Capital. My name is Jack Laskey. In Unbounded Conversations, well, before we get into that, why don't I turn it over to Zach and just have you talk about a little bit who you are and who we are.
I'm the managing partner of Unbounded Capital. This fund was started in mid-2018. And the fund has grown, changed, and really focused a lot over the past year or so. So we initially came to BSV in looking for networks that can scale and create new types of business models and unbounded possibilities that weren't possible before blockchain. And the more we learned about blockchain, the more we learned about Bitcoin, the more we realized the winner-take-all nature of the markets for immutable data storage, digital sound money. And that kind of led us to where we are now, in which we're seeking to solely invest in the companies and people that are building on top of Bitcoin via the metanet.
Yeah, I can add on to that also. I'm Dave Mullen-Muhr. I'm one of the other principals at Unbounded Capital. And to add to that story a little bit, as we were seeking these scalable platforms, we initially were interested in Bitcoin Cash. And after the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV fork, we had this, what we now realize in retrospect was an emotional tie to Bitcoin Cash that we really wanted to hedge against. So I ventured into a San Francisco BSV meetup and wanted to, try to make sure that my opinion was strong for why Bitcoin Cash was better. And to my surprise, what I found was that Bitcoin SV ecosystem was full of exceptionally bright developers and thinkers, and they had much better arguments for why Bitcoin SV was the better, more scalable Bitcoin. Zach, Jack, and I all have inclination for ruthlessly pursuing the truth. So with that discovery at the meetup, we continued down that rabbit hole and have since been really studying what Bitcoin can accomplish when scaled, and what the metanet or the businesses that are built on top of Bitcoin will look like. So this podcast will be, or this video series will be, an exploration of what that looks like with developers, the founders, and the just interested entrepreneurs that are thinking about that.
Yeah, I think a big part of why we want to start this conversation about what is the real potential of the metanet is that so much conversation has been wasted just kind of debating which protocol is best, why BSV, why not BSV, why BTC, why BCH, why Ethereum, so on and so on. And I feel like that conversation has kind of run its course, at least within the BSV world. Now, there's obviously still a role for sharing why BSV is the best route to scaling. But I think maybe too much time has been spent on those sorts of questions. And it's really a response to the stagnation we've seen in other parts of the crypto ecosystem, and the fact that there hasn't been anything that can scale, and therefore no businesses built on top of blockchain protocols have seen any kind of success or adoption. And so I think it's time for the conversation to really shift towards what's possible right now and what's possible over the next couple of years, sort of thinking along maybe a 5-year time frame. And part of the reason we want to have this conversation is, we're a fund, we're allocating capital, and we want to understand what is the world of metanet going to look like, or at least be able to make more accurate predictions on that front. And I think the best way we can do that is to bring in the best and the brightest in BSV to come talk about what they see as the possible applications of the metanet, potentially in a more broad sense, potentially sort of in very industry-specific contexts, thinking about, what are Web 2 ideas we can port over, what are, native metanet type businesses, what are businesses that people are trying to build on platforms like Ethereum right now that would be better built on BSV, exploring all of these areas really with the focus of inspiring the next generation of Bitcoin entrepreneurs. And it's not just an altruistic thing, of course. We want to fund the ideas that we're discussing on this show. And so if you're watching and you want to build, and you think that the conversations we're having here are compelling, go down the rabbit hole, learn as much as you can, and start building, and come to us. And we're putting out these businesses because we really want to see them built. We want to help build them. And so if anything, I think the real goal of this show is just to provide inspiration to the community of entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs, about what's possible and what is not just technically possible, but also economically possible, which is something that hopefully we can add, a little bit of our expertise, our VC expertise and our entrepreneurial expertise to that conversation.
Yeah, one thing that's worth mentioning on top of that is a lot of the entrepreneurs in the existing blockchain space have been very developer heavy and technical. The ultimate goal, obviously, of the metanet is to have an expansive ecosystem like the internet that non-technical people can use and use to create new business models. So we're not just interested in very technical conversations. We would love to have those as well, but we're also interested in non-technical, high-level conversations from business people that maybe already know about BSV or they discover it through this podcast and video series. But whatever your level of expertise is currently in terms of technical understanding, if you have an interesting idea that you think you could leverage Bitcoin for, please come on. We'd love to talk to you.
This is now the third podcast Jack and I are doing together. And I think initially the thought behind this medium was, hey, how can we have an excuse to talk to some of the most interesting people in the space that we're trying to learn the most about? And while what we've done and the venture we're working on has changed, I think that fundamental principle hasn't. And I'm really excited to learn from, as Dave said, not just, the bright developers and entrepreneurs that are building on top of Bitcoin, but also those that have, business experience and non-technical understanding of how, the Internet of Value can scale. So please contact us if you'd like to be on the show, whether you're building something or not. But if you are building something and you're building on top of Bitcoin, we want to be in conversation. So on our website, unboundedcapital.com, there's a tab that says share your idea. You could share it with us there. You could also email us at funding@unboundedcapital.com. In addition, for anyone that's watching this before the CoinGeek conference in Seoul on October 1st and 2nd, all three of us will be there then. So please say hi. We'll be available. We'd love to meet you.
Awesome, Zach. Yeah, thank you guys. And I really look forward to getting the serious conversation started, to exploring what's possible with the metanet. There's so much to cover. It's a never-ending conversation. It's an unbounded conversation, you might say. And it's one that we're really looking forward to getting started. So thank you guys all for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.